You know, when an Arsenal fan is down, you can always rely on those lot down the road to cheer us up. What a fantastic day of football, unless you're a Spurs fan. Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk. Back again with you guys for another show, for another episode of our TGT podcast show, which I'm joined by a couple of fantastic people to talk about the weekend and the week's events and discuss them in plenty of detail and get their thoughts and insight as well as you guys in our live chat box as well. First of all, I'm joined by the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Lee Judges. How you doing, mate? Are you well?
Yeah, I'm all good. Thank you very much. A little bit better after that just this afternoon. I've had, as you know, a horrendous week and it weren't getting much better, and that's cheered me up a little bit, So just want to say thanks to Omar. I put a lovely message in before we come on air, so thanks for him for that as well. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And we obviously sent you all of our best wishes in from TGT, and it's good to see that you're smiling again after, even though it was a disappointing result on Saturday. We had a nice result in the women's match, which we're going to talk about in a second. To tell things around, and then a certain little Argentinian wizard turned up for West Ham today and scored a little bit of a nice goal to top off quite an interesting fixture at the other North London Stadium. So, yeah, it was lovely to see that. We're going to go into that in a lot more detail in a second. But first of all, Raph, how you doing, mate? Are you well? Are you good?
I'm good, mate. Like you said, better than I was yesterday. So, yeah, today they've definitely put a smile back on my face, them lot down the road. So, yeah, better than yesterday.
We can always rely on them to do it for us, can't we? I mean, let's talk about it. Whilst our boys didn't do too well, the women's team did absolutely fantastically, smashing Spurs 6-1 in the North London derby. Lee, I know you watched the game as well.
Yeah,
Mia Dima, she is some talent. She is unreal.
I'll tell you what, I really enjoyed it. You know, they've got some really, really good players. They play a certain way of football. I know that maybe it's a little bit slower than the men's game and whatever, but they play it in the right way. And they come out in the first 10 minutes what I'd like to see the men's team do. They really went at them and really had the game won within the first 10, 15 minutes because they set their stall out to just hit them hard early on. And it was ruthless, and I loved it. Absolutely loved it. You know, I mean, it happened to be against Spurs. Any time Arsenal beating Spurs and seeing that cockerel being taken to the sword, I love it, whether it's a women's under 23s or whatever. But I really enjoyed it. Some brilliant football, and as you say, the girl can finish. And but I was really impressed with the free kick was fantastic, and I just really enjoyed the game. McCabe, I think, got the free kick.
Yes.
She had another one which was well saved by the goalkeeper straight afterwards, and yeah, I really enjoyed it, and can I safely say I got a little bit bored when it was 6 because it was too easy. But I would never get like that if it was the men. I would want more and more. But I was quite, But I enjoyed it. It was nice and relaxing, and to see Arsenal stuff Spurs was great. Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, we were talking off there before we came on and about like how if you support the club, you support all of it, and I haven't got that same attachment, and I think that just comes down to it being just like me following the men's game, and the women's thing is such an evolving and new thing, even for me. Like I know it's been going for absolutely donkey's years, but finally it's kind of getting the publicity and the exposure that it deserves. And what annoys me sometimes is you see a lot of people on social media posting some of those videos, like some of the comical things that go on sometimes in the women's game and the mistakes that are made. But I'm sorry, but if anyone saw what Kepa did in the Chelsea game yesterday and they're throwing that sort of video up, it happens just as bad in the men's game. Some of the stuff we see in the men's game is horrific. And if you watch the Arsenal game today, seeing Katie McCabe's free kick was unreal how good it was. And then Caitlin Ford's pass to Mia Dima for her third goal as well was absolutely fantastic. The incisive pass on the inside, that it is a fantastic amount of quality that we're starting to see. And actually now seeing them get sort of the recognition that they deserve for the quality they've had and the development that's going on, the improvement in the coaching, the improvement in the exposure, it's great. And I'm hoping and praying that one day we can go back and start watching our teams in the stands. And I'll be definitely trying to get down to as many of the women's games as
yeah, I
feasibly
think
possible.
I'm with you on that. I'd like to go to one of the women's games. I really, really would. I would like to have a go at that. We might have to do that together, Tom was saying. But
Yes,
I would like
100%,
to. I would really like to. I enjoy that, like, yeah.
100%. Raph, let's warm you up because you're letting me know you're freezing over there. And if there's one thing that can warm the soul, it's a certain Manuel Lanzini long shot. We are going to come on to Arsenal, but I just feel like we need to relish a little bit more in Spurs' pain. Tell me how well you celebrated that goal going in.
I'll be honest. When I saw it, I was literally looking, thinking we should sign him up, mate. That Lanzini. I feel like it was like I didn't know he had it in his locker. Well, to be honest, he's always been quite a good player, but he's had a bad couple of years, it seems, after the injury. But yeah, mate, I celebrated like I was a West Ham fan when that went in. And to be honest, when I first saw, obviously they went up 2-0 pretty early. I was just like, these guys, they look like they mean business a little bit, to be honest. Obviously, Bell's on the bench. And then it's just like, I just don't want them to just go on a run. And then that just, obviously, I think Bell comes on. He doesn't run back, doesn't track back, doesn't really do anything. And then they equalise. And it just seemed like, all right, cool. They're the gift that keeps on giving. And I loved every minute of it, to be honest. So I'm just happy. I really just don't want them to have a good season. I don't know what. Like, I think it's Mourinho as well. And then what he said about Wenger the other day, it's just like, I just really hope he just really flops. Like, it would just really like make me so happy.
And you just know that when they were going like 3-0 up in the first half, you could just tell the wry smile that was starting to grow. No, you're fine, mate. You're absolutely fine. In terms of the wry smile that was growing on Mourinho's face, and as you say, him kind of giving those slight digs at Arsene Wenger, he can't help himself. He just can't help it. And to be fair to Arsene Wenger, he came back a bit today with some comments that came out on GFFN. If you want to go check those out, I'm absolutely fine with him coming back at him. Just don't let him revel in his own pity and his own just self-centeredness. But let's kind of talk about the reason why we are here, and that's discuss a little bit more in detail Arsenal's defeat at Manchester City on Saturday afternoon. Lee, it was a disappointing result for sure. I always try and look at these games that we're seeing week in, week out against like the likes of Liverpool and Man City in the league under Arteta. I'm seeing progress, I'm seeing positives, but ultimately we're not achieving that end goal yet that is taking points off these teams away from home.
Well, yeah, exactly. And I think that the actual positive to come out of it really is that fans, myself included, were disappointed that we didn't beat Man City. You know, I've been going to Man City for the last sort of 5, 6, 7, 8 years, how long it's ever been. And it's always been like, you know, like I'll get out of there with, not being embarrassed, you know. But like yesterday, I genuinely thought we had a chance of getting something from the game. And I was disappointed that we didn't. From my point of view, listen, I'm a big Mikel Arteta fan, as everybody knows, and everybody should be. You know, he's done fantastically well since he's come to the club. But unfortunately, and we have said this as well, he's going to make mistakes along the way because he's young and he's learning. He made a few yesterday that I will never understand and I'm baffled by with. And every time I ask people, has anybody got a reason for it? No one can. And the one for me, when I looked at the front three, I said, yes, Pepe, Aubameyang down the middle, Willian on the left, or even, swapping from right to left. I thought this was going to be great. And then I see Willian playing in the middle. I just couldn't understand it. It didn't work. It never looked like it was going to work. And from that point of view, I was really disappointed. From that, I also have to say, I felt we was too cautious in the game. Yeah. I don't know if everybody felt. I just felt that we was over cautious. I felt that I'm not going to say that people have been saying that Manchester City were there for the taking. I think that's a bit disrespectful for Man City. They're still a very, very good side, but this was our best chance of beating Manchester City. we've like, because normally they've got De Bruyne playing, they've got Aguero fully fit, they've got but they had 3 or 4 players weren't playing yesterday. Laporte wasn't even playing as well. I felt you could get at them, but in saying that, Walker had a fantastic game. He really nullified Aubameyang to basically, he was non-existent. So from that point of view, I think the positives are, again, I'm going to say it was Saka. I thought he was absolutely brilliant again, faded in the game, but that's going to be expected. But, I think that all in all, I didn't think it was a terrible performance, but I just felt we was too cautious. And I don't know about you guys, but I just come away from there feeling like we never really give it a go. But then sometimes when I've gone to those games, we've give it a go and we've got stuffed. I've probably gone, I wish we was a little bit cautious. So I think we got caught in between the two. And unfortunately, we're not quite there yet to take on the big boys away from home.
Yeah, I think it's a case of that there is still a long, long way to go. I think the gap between the two sides, even with De Bruyne not being in the side, there was a lot made, Raph, of De Bruyne not being in. I get that De Bruyne is obviously, in my opinion, probably the best player in the Premier League currently. But a lot was made about Manchester City being there for the taking and specifically highlighting the absence of De Bruyne. But Aguero came back in, Sterling and Mahrez on the wings. You then got the likes of Foden and Bernardo Silva and Rodri. And it's not a bad team still, is it? So in context, how do you kind of picture and place this defeat?
I feel like, I think it was, like you said, it is disrespectful to kind of look at it like, okay, they were there for the taking per se, but I just think we could have been a bit bolder. That's the only thing that I would say. I feel like Arteta overthought it a little bit. I think the whole kind of playing Willian as a false 9, still playing the 3 at the back, I just felt like, I get weathering the storm initially, but I felt like there was an opportunity to just have a bit more of a go, and just a little bit more of a go, like because like you said, I think Aubameyang was pretty non-existent in the game, and I just felt like even there was times in the second half, especially where we had concentrated possession and things like that. So I felt like if we would have been a bit bolder and a little bit more kind of adventurous in the way that we attacked, I genuinely think that we could have got something out of the game. Having said that, there was obviously 2 chances, and on another day, if those chances go in, it's a different game completely. Or even if one of them go in, because Man City didn't offer that much when you look at it from in terms of actually clear-cut chances. Like, there's been times we've been cut apart completely. So there's definitely positives, and I think we're in we're on the right track in terms of how we set up and how we are structured, how he's got us defensively in a structure. I just think that creative impetus, and this is not, I don't want to get the Ozil stuff going again, but in terms of, but there's that creativity that I feel like there's slightly that we lack, and maybe that was the reason why, we were in for an hour, or, there's been the talk of a Szoboszlai. So, but overall, I think when you place this defeat, similar to what Lee said, we conceded 3 goals against Man City for, I think it's the last 3 games in the Premier League. There's been, I remember 6-3s. I remember us being trounced. So when you put it in context like that, I think that you can see the improvement. But I just hope that Arteta, this is just because of the team that we have currently and what he's doing, it's going to be an evolution where we start maybe from the defense and we see us gradually progress into the attacking side that we all kind of hope, and have everything kind of a great.
Oh, I think we may have lost Raph there very briefly.
But yeah, but overall, it's not the worst result.
He's now going to get me on delay. You cut out ever so slightly there, Raph, but we did get the most of what you were saying there, mate.
Oh my God.
You're fine, mate. You're good. We can hear you again. He's losing his mind. Lee, let's sort of
some of them days, man.
Some of the team selections in Arteta's sort of decision making. He didn't go with Partey. which I get really frustrated. I probably shouldn't, because he's only had 1.5 training sessions, which a lot of people pointed out to me in the game. But there was just something about it that the reason why we bought someone like Partey was that we could go to these away games, go to these big teams and compete in the midfield. He played over the international break. He'd been playing for Atletico Madrid during the season. He was match fit. And I don't know what it was, but I just felt that it was worth taking the risk to put Partey in this game. What was your head around that decision?
100%, totally agree. We've been chasing midfield players all summer for a reason, that the midfield's not strong enough. The midfield that has been playing, whoever you put in there at this moment in time, got a 7th in the league last season. It needed improving. It needed an upgrade. We get the upgrade, and this thing that really bugs me now is when they turn around and say, "Oh, he didn't have enough. He didn't have enough training. He didn't do that." Well, go and meet the release calls 2 or 3 weeks earlier, and you could have had all that training sessions. You know, so I'm a bit disappointed with that. You know, I don't. When you think about it, El Neni played very, very well in the game against Sheffield United. I don't think he's done anything wrong in his in the 2 games that he started, but he's been left out. So it needed to be someone to be left out. For me, I would have rather seen Partey play and maybe took a chance and put Ceballos a little bit further on. We're limited in that midfield area though, Tom, because we have to play 3 at the back because he hasn't got a central defender to play for. You know, so again, we've been let down in the transfer market. I think that if you look at it, and I'll be honest with you, if Saliba wasn't going to be around, which we all thought he was going to be, then we needed another central defender, because to go in someone to go in alongside Gabriel. Now the thing is with Gabriel, is he going to play Mari in there, and that will be the 2 that he goes with, both left-footed. You know, someone said that to me, they're both left-footed, but Tony Adams and Martin Keown and Sol Campbell were all right-footed, and someone has to adapt. And Gabriel looks like he can adapt. So I think that's something that we may have to look to do when Mari gets himself fit. That is the thing. And then we can get the 3 in midfield. Then we can get Partey doing his stuff, and then it'll be like Xhaka and Ceballos maybe in there. And maybe then you can play Willian in a little bit more of a freer role, when he's got a little bit more protection. A couple of things, particularly in these big games, a couple of decisions now that Arteta has done has got me scratching me old bald head. I'm going to be honest, you know, he left Gabriel out of the game against Liverpool. Yeah. And he's been our best defender by a country mile, and he left him out of that game. We lost 3-1, by the way, in that game. But you know, and it just seems to be a little, I don't know, a little bomb that goes off. And, you know, this one for me was the one of Willian on you know, in the centre forward role, the false 9. But I also have to say that, you know, he brought out those players, and I felt that the front 3, all right, didn't get a lot of service, but I didn't think they played well. Pepe, to me, is a big worry now. He's starting to become a big worry now, because we all said, we'll give him the another season. He's had a pre-season this time. You know, people turning around saying, he came in late last season. He's had a good year to settle down. He's not having the pressure of the fans on his case, neither, or anything like that moment. So he's probably playing without the pressure that he would normally be able to do. And I will say this, that we do seem a lot more dangerous down the left-hand side with Saka and Tierney. I don't think he's getting a lot of help from Bellerin, if I'll be honest, from an attacking point of view. I thought he was poor again yesterday, if I'll be honest. Not like totally disastrous, what a lot of people are actually saying, but I didn't think he was great. But I think that our front 3 were poor yesterday. And I know it's team selection, I know we're talking about that, but it is fine lines. If we take our chances yesterday, then who knows? We could be looking and going, it's a masterclass from Mikel Arteta. What a great thing that he's done. We should have had a penalty, by the way, if in the rules of the game. You know, when I played, that's never a foul, let alone a penalty. But nowadays, it is. You know, you see one earlier on with Everton and Liverpool in the morning, which was just as bad, and that was a free kick given straight away. And when Gary Neville turns around and says on commentary it's a definite penalty, well, then you know, where's VAR for you, like, you know? But I just feel that he's just making a few. This is what I worry. I don't know how you guys feel about this. What I worry about Mikel Arteta at the minute, he's being ruthless with certain players and not ruthless with others. You know, for instance, if El Nenny's quite happy to be dropped, left out, and whatever, like, and I think he's done okay in those areas. But Bellerin's done nothing to really merit being in the last. To be selected week in, week out. Pepe, I think now is, you know, would you play him in the next game? And let's be honest. If you're going to be real, Willian has been a total disappointment so far in his first 5 games for us. I think he's been poor, slow, giving the ball away, not doing really. Has played most games, so I think it's a real difficult thing. I don't think Mikel Arteta knows what his best team is at the moment, Tom. I don't think he knows if it's with 3 at the back, because obviously you've got David Luiz, who I think plays really well in a 3. You've got Tierney, who's a great left back or wing back, playing as a central defender of a 3, you know, in a back 3 at the moment. Then you look at the midfield, you know, now with Partey coming, it's going to be Partey and 1. I think that he's going to have to try and get another central defender. You know, I think Holding being out, obviously, maybe you know, let's give him a little bit of slack here. Maybe if Holding was in there, it would have been a 4 in there. It may be that it would have been Ceballos moving a little bit more forward. So we give him a little bit of slack there. You don't know. He may be able to change it very, very quickly, which can be disruptive. I think that's the second time now in the last few games we've had someone fall. I think Tierney got pulled out, didn't he, of a game on the warm-up?
Yeah.
So it does distract you. You know, let's not get away from that. But I just think that he's got to turn around and say to himself, right, this is my team, the Premier League team, and this is what I'm going to go for. Barring injuries, that's what it's going to be for 3 or 4 weeks. Get some consistency game with that, see what it's like. And so that you've got your flair players, if you like, are not under pressure. And I think that's the thing. If you're a player that plays up in the top half of the pitch, you don't really want to be looking over your shoulder thinking you're going to get pulled off after 70 minutes all the time or not be in the next week. You know, give them a little bit of freedom. Just say to them, right, you're my man. I'm going to play you. Relax them and see what they can do. Because I just feel that we're, you know, missing a few chances. And I'm going to have to say, if I was Lacazette, I said it in my interviews yesterday, like, you know, I'll be banging on Mikel Arteta's door tomorrow, wanting to know what's going on, because I'll be a little bit annoyed about I've scored 3 goals in 3 games to be dropped for Eddie, who I don't think is as good as him, and then to be left out for Willian. And let's be honest about it. Lacazette played in the semi-final and the cup final, playing that role. I thought he played it really well, by the way, in those 2 games. So why couldn't he come and do that role against Man City? So I'll be asking those questions. You know, I thought he was exceptional in those games. His work rate, everybody was praising him for that. Yes, but since he missed that chance against Liverpool, he sort of like fell out with Mikel Arteta. Mikel Arteta's maybe lost a bit of faith in him. I think that's a little bit unfair.
I think there's a great point you bring up about Lacazette and Raph. If we talk about kind of the tactical stuff, Willian is played in this false 9 role by Arteta. And in my mind, Lacazette plays that false 9 position perfectly well at times. Like, he drops deep, he holds the ball up, he links up play. I wrote in an article after the game saying that I don't think he does it on the level that Olivier Giroud used to do in terms of his hold-up play. But what he does do in difference to Giroud is that he drops in. And often what we've seen against this, like Manchester City's, Chelsea's, Liverpool's away from home, is that our striker is often really isolated. So I understood the decision to play with a false 9, to drop him in deep, to add to the midfield in that sense, especially when you've only got a back 3 and 2 in midfield. But to choose Willian, I thought, was a really odd one when Lacazette does that deeper striking role really well, I thought.
Yeah, I mean, and Lee brought up a really good point that I was going to touch on, but possibly the fact that Holding got injured, maybe he had to kind of revert to 3 at the back because he doesn't trust Luiz to play as a 2. But and then he obviously just had to switch things around a little bit. I don't know why he's so reluctant to play Aubameyang through the middle, but clearly he doesn't fancy that. But I mean, for Willian. And I didn't, because of all the lagging, I'm not sure if Lee touched on it, so apologies if he did. But we're gonna have to discuss Willian anyway. I don't know apart from the Fulham game, it's pretty much been a bit of on the periphery of every game. And I think to play him out of position after he's not necessarily had the best of times in games, it did seem a really baffling one. And Willian's not I wouldn't say he's a player that, he's not going to run the channels, but then he's not always going to drop deep, hold up the ball and things like that. He might drop deep and try and make things happen in midfield a little bit, but he doesn't strike me as the player that's going to receive the ball with his back to goal and kind of link play. So it just seemed like we've got, and if anything, you would say that that's Lacazette's actual strength, if I'm honest, in terms of the way he plays. Sometimes I feel like Lacazette could maybe run the channels, or his movement could be a bit better, because he does try and hold up the ball and try and kind of play with his back to go and link up play too much. So if that was what you wanted Willian there for, or to almost play as a false nine, it just seems really baffling, considering Lacazette's was on the bench. And let's be honest, Lacazette, okay, yeah, he missed a chance against Liverpool, and I've been critical with him at times last season, but he had 3 and 3. So to me, I really don't understand, if you're gonna stick with him or have faith with him, it's gonna be when he's scoring, not take him out of the team when he's actually scoring goals, which was his big problem, to be honest. So I don't know. It did seem a bit strange. I mean, the setup again, we got kind of isolated a bit in midfield. We lost the midfield battle a lot, but again, it's because they're a good midfield anyway, but we're playing 3 against 2. I get it from a defensive standpoint that we were a bit more solid with the 3 at the back. And Saka had a lot of license to kind of go forward when we did have the ball, which he benefited from. And also the teams that have affected Man City have like Leicester played with 3 at the back, so maybe he was looking at that as well. But it just seemed really strange. I don't think we got the best out of any one of the front 3 playing the way that we played. I don't think that we were linking up well enough with the midfield. So I don't know. It was a really strange one, I'll be honest.
It was really strange. I thought some of the tactical decisions were really odd, and people who come and watch the channel know how much I back Arteta, and I praise him for a lot of things that he's done. But it is right to be critical when things are mysteriously done, and I thought some of the decisions tactically made in that game were odd. I feel that you could overanalyze the City game a lot. I think that it was a case of we were in the game a lot longer, in simple terms, than we have been in a long, long time. We missed some really big chances. Aubameyang that was judged offside, but had he have put it away, it would have been overturned and given as a goal. And that chance for me against City in the semi-final, in the final against Chelsea, to dink the ball over Kepa over Caballero in the final. He just seemed like, I don't know why he didn't pull off that same finish against Ederson there. And then Saka, for me, that finish strikes as someone that's 18 years old, to be honest, in a big game. And he quite hasn't got the composure maybe to finish off that chance. It was still an excellent save from Ederson, of course, but I think that those are the types of chances that we really should be putting away. But other than that, I thought Saka had arguably the best performance of all of our team. He was absolutely brilliant. But I do want to look ahead, and I do want to kind of move away from the Man City game and afraid of being lingering on it. We've got the Europa League games coming up now. We've also got a couple of nice fixtures, I think, against Leicester City and Man United, which for me tell me a lot more about where this Arsenal team is at in comparison to maybe the Liverpool or the Manchester City game. Lee, we've got Leicester up first and then Manchester City. Leicester have just been beaten by Aston Villa, who are having absolutely storming starts to the season. Emi Martinez, of course, playing a very key role for them too. But these 2 games against Leicester and then against Man United, if Arsenal come through those 2 in a positive way, or in any way, in terms of whatever the outcome could be, how important are these 2 games in leading us towards that top 4 fight?
Well, I think these are two massive games now. I think because you just hit the nail on the head there. One, it to tell us where we are. I think that in terms of how we're going to play teams like Leicester, because I think that, no disrespect to West Ham, who've done very well today, and Sheffield United, they set up defensively, but haven't got the tools of an attacking on the break team like Leicester. So it's going to be a test for us, because we are going to have a lot of possession, and they're going to be the team that's going to hit us on the break, like they did to Manchester City and done it really well. You know, I think that Vardy had 5 touches in one half against City in the first game, scored 2 goals. So, you know, you've got to be really cautious of that game. So we've got to be aware of being caught on the break. We've got to be ruthless up front, and then we're going to go to Man United for the 5th, 6th time, where I'm looking at them and thinking this is the time we can go there and beat them. You know, they've got weaknesses in their team that we can exploit. But this is going to be a very interesting one. Does Arteta go there with that defensive attitude again, or does he go there and go to kill them? Tottenham the other day destroyed them, absolutely destroyed them. And I know that they had someone sent off, but they was opening them up at will before that even happened. Yeah. Even before the sending off, they would have won 3 or 4-1 that day. So it'd be very interesting at how we're going to do that. But I think that I think it's important now that we have a little relax, if you like, you know, in the Europa League. Play a few of the squad players, the younger players, get their games. I think Saliba now, we've made the decision that he's not going to go out on loan. Chuck him in that game, not a problem. You know, he played in the under-23s on Saturday. There's no problem in giving a few of the young guns a game in this tournament. If we can't get through this tournament with the players we've got and the squad we've got, then we don't deserve to be in it. That's my opinion. We've been in Europa League now 3 or 3 years, whatever it is. We know it doesn't warm up until the knockout stages. This is where we just get through these games, and we should be able to do that. And then rest the big guns for the game against Leicester and really, really go for it. Now, Leicester, of course, are in Europe as well with not such a big a squad. So I don't think they'll be able to rest players as much as us. So we should go into that game a little bit fresher. And I think that, you know, listen, with Liverpool at the moment, like, you know, losing Van Dijk for 8 or 9 months brings them back into the pack. I really do. I don't think that they're you know, this is a player that makes them that X factor. You know, they've got their goalkeeper missing. So all of a sudden they're going to be dropping points a little bit. You know, there is a real chance for Arsenal to really get into this top 4. And our next 4 games, you know, are, I think, you know, really going to test us where we are. I tell you what, boys, if we're still in 5th place after these 4 games, I'll take that. I will take that because, you know, you've got Leicester, you've got Manchester United, we've got Villa. But look at them at the minute; they're absolutely flying. And then we've got Leeds United, which is a real test. So we've got 4 games now that I think are going to define where we're going to be. And if we're in the top 4 or 5, we can then start really attacking it. So answer the question, Tom, if we win these 2 games, we'd be in a very, very healthy position to attack top 4. I really do. Because I'll tell you what, David Moyes said something today which was very interesting on his interview when he turned around and said, you know, the defending's not been great, and it'll be one of the teams that's got the best defence will be at the be challenging for the top 4 or the title. Well, Arsenal at this moment in time have got the 2nd best defence in the league, and that's good with going to Liverpool and Man City. So, you know, let's look at the positives of that. You know, we ain't conceding a lot of goals, and if we're not going to concede a lot of goals, then we're not going to lose that many games. So I think there's a lot of positives to go from that. Forget about that now. Forget about Man City. Forget about Liverpool. They're done and dusted. You know what I mean? It's now what we do from now. The 2 toughest away trips on paper have been done. So we can now attack it. But I think that beating Leicester at home, you know, in a way, I'm pleased Leicester lost today because you know, but that's 2 defeats on the spin they've lost. You know. Another one's going to be a bad little season for the start for them. But you know, we've got to beat these teams in and around us that are going to be challenging for the top 4. And I think Leicester maybe not going to be everybody's favourites, but they're going to be there and thereabouts in the 5th, 6th position. We need to get the 3 points against them, and more importantly, because we're at home.
Yeah, exactly, and we need to make those chances count when we go to the King Power in the league. We have found that place very tough. So picking up points against Leicester at home is a big one. I look at Leicester still as a side that, yes, they could go 3 games without a win here, but as a team that are going to try and push for that Champions League spot along with us. And we need to be making sure that we're picking up points in these, what arguably you would call 6-pointers against sides like Leicester at the moment. So 100% agree with you on that. Raph, before I go into Raph's question, this is going to be a chance in the chat box to throw in your questions. So if you would like to ask the guys a question, please throw them into the chat box now. But Raph, kind of bringing things full circle, I spoke to Lee at the start of the show about Partey not being included in the game. Now, after a week's training, you'd imagine, I'd be surprised if he played in midweek against Rapid Vienna, but maybe they want to give him game time and maybe he will feature. But for me, Partey being as good as he is and as transformative as he can be, and to make sure that we can also play, in my opinion, 3 in midfield now as well, not having him in our side, I'm going to go as far to say it would be as akin to Manchester City not having Kevin De Bruyne. I think he's going to have that much of an impact on Arsenal's team this season. So going into the game against Leicester and Manchester United afterwards, and then of course we've got games on the likes of Leeds, as Lee said, Partey being included in that, how important is that for us now going forward?
I think it's imperative. I think without, it just makes no sense. And I think ultimately, if we were going to, like Lee said, I think we could have just done the deal a bit earlier and he could have been integrated right now. I think the issue is if we don't play him, I don't see us being able to dominate those games. I think that we're just in a position where ultimately we will be, it's touch and go. Whereas if we play him, he does put us in a position where we now are looking to dominate those games, overpower that. Like I genuinely believe, obviously, and we can only look forward now. Obviously, the game's gone. I think that if we played Partey in the game against City, we had a real opportunity to overrun their midfield. Rodri's not the most mobile, and then you have Bernardo Silva and Foden, who are technically excellent, but they're not athletically the best players in regards to going back, and they're not defensive minded. So that could have been a real opportunity to actually, use his athleticism to our benefit. And I look at the Leicester side and I look at the Man United side, and I would say Leicester have a bit more balance in midfield with Ndidi and Tielemans and maybe Maddison if they play him. But I feel like that's still an opportunity where you look at Partey and you say he's the best midfielder on the pitch. Then you look at Man United in a similar vein, and they have good attacking players, but going backwards and defensively, I wouldn't say that they're a team that we should be worried about from an athletic perspective. And obviously just in terms of us being able to play football against them and actually dominate the midfield if we do play 3 in midfield. So I feel like Partey is integral to that. And I just think while I don't agree, I can understand not playing him against City because maybe he's just come in, he's had a day and a half training, but there will be absolutely no excuse to not play him against Leicester, and especially not against Man United. And I just think Arteta just needs to get out of his own way at times with maybe overthinking and just actually say, do you know what? You're going to be the best player on the pitch. Go out there and just show you can do a little bit within our system, of course. But yeah, it would be a big missed opportunity if we don't play them.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you, and I think that if you do, there's part of me that feels that we may see him against Rapid Vienna in midweek because they'll want to give him game time to integrate before we see him play against Leicester. Maybe do we take that risk? I think there's a lot of benefits to playing him against Rapid Vienna in midweek to kind of integrate him into the Arsenal team, give him some minutes, be it as a substitute, be it as him starting and then bringing him off at half-time if things are going well. But I think there is a lot of benefits to doing that. I think he's got the fitness and the stamina to play 2 games in a week, absolutely no problem. He's done that for Atletico Madrid for years in the Champions League. So there's no reason, in my opinion, why that couldn't happen. But I think there's also a lot of benefits to say, look, get a week's training in and then you can come in against Leicester. And keeping on that Partey theme, Lee, Mike Hernandez asks, should Partey be played next to Xhaka, or do you think he's coming in to replace him in a 3-man midfield?
Oh, no, I think he's going to come in next to him. I honestly believe that Arteta would like to play 3 in midfield, but he can't do that at the moment with the personnel that we've got. I think that maybe if, he'll look to probably, as I say, Holding's going to be out now. Saliba's going to have to come in. But, don't forget, Mustafi's still about. So he may even think that, he could play him in the 4. back in training, so he could give us that opportunity. Ideally, what he wants to go is 4-3-3. That's what he wants to do. Like, you know, so you've got the power of Xhaka and Partey. Obviously, that, you know, this Arsenal were looking for another midfield player all summer with Aouar. We all know that, like, you know, so they're looking to do that. But unfortunately, we didn't get him. So I'm going to sneeze.
It always comes and goes.
Yeah, I don't know what happened now. So I think that from that point of view, I think that we're looking to go with that 3 in there and get that 1 in. So I feel that Ceballos maybe just say, right, let's see if Danny can do that role as the more creative player. But I think that Danny Ceballos, by the way, has you know, done okay in midfield for us. You know, there was a certain role that he played yesterday where he was winning tackles. But I think that he does so much good work, but it's too deep. Why can't he try and do that little? You know, I don't know if you noticed it yesterday. He done a back heel, which was sensational. Like, I'd like to see him do that back heel in the final third and maybe open something. I think he's got that something little different that maybe can mix it up a little bit for us. Like, you know, so I think that people getting on Xhaka's back, I don't think he was that bad again yesterday. I think he's done okay for us. I think that, you know, we need to upgrade eventually all midfield players, if I'll be honest. But at the moment, I think I'm going to say this now. I don't think the Partey should play against Rapid on Thursday night. I'd play a few of the youngsters, give them a go, like, you know, the Willocks, Smith Rose. And El Neni would be my 3 in there, if I'll be honest. But I would say then that a little bit more training, and I'm with Rav there. We has to play him against Leicester. Has to play against Leicester. The first name that goes on that sheet is Partey. No, I don't care anybody else. He's the first one to go on there, and I would go that there. So I'd like to see Xhaka and answers to Mike's question. Xhaka and Partey as the base of the team. That's the 2 there, giving us a solid midfield base with perhaps a bias or even Willian then going into that role if that's the role we're going to play. You know what I mean? That a little bit different, not a false 9, but then you've got your 3 up top. That would be a better solution for Willian as well.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, behind Partey, for me, the next person on the team sheet is Saka right now. The creativity that he is bringing us and the form that he's
playing in there as well. Yeah, if you're going to go 4,
play him at 10,
playing at 10. Yeah, that's a great call, great shout.
100%. A couple of questions that kind of answer each other. Ljungberg Camp says Everton, Villa, Leicester, Leeds all went for the win against City and Liverpool. Why did we just go in with damage control and trying to keep the score down? And then Chris Smith answered by saying, do we think that Arteta and Arsenal could have potentially had an inferiority complex against City and Liverpool? And maybe that is why we were so cautious in that game. To just answer that briefly, I just think that in terms of that game, we had seen success against Man City, Chelsea, Liverpool last season, playing with that 3-4-3 system and seeing us play quite successfully. And it's very, very difficult to try and break away from a system that you've seen success with. And I think that's kind of the why Arteta went that way. It's a case of if it's not broken, don't fix it. However, I would say that you do need to adapt. You do need to change sometimes. And I think that there was an opportunity in that game to go for it. I talked about that in the preview show. I think that we should have gone 4 at the back. I think we should have gone with 3 in the midfield. And I thought Partey should have started. But I think there was an opportunity to go for them. But unfortunately, we just couldn't quite manage it. Raph, are you there? Because I'm seeing a spinning circle on my screen. I don't know if he's there or not. Lee, you're seeing that as well, I imagine, as well.
Yeah, I'm seeing that. Yeah,
we'll plough on with that, Raph, for the moment until he gets his
I just think with that, with you can't really compare what other teams do with Man City and Liverpool and things like that. Pep changed his tactics to play against Arsenal yesterday. He played 3 at the back. He didn't do that against Liverpool, and he didn't do it against Man City. What he done was he was a little bit cautious against us as well, and he nullified our players. And what was very interesting in the semi-final, because of Mikel Arteta, what he done is he set traps all around the ground, all around the pitch for Man City to walk into, and it worked. Pep didn't put those traps out, you know what I mean? So all those traps weren't there this time, you know what I mean? So he was a little bit, changed the game against Liverpool, against Leeds. They went for it bang for bang, but Pep changed his tactics against Arsenal, and you'd have to say that he outfoxed Arteta this time. So he outdone him in the semi-final. Pep's come back and just showed you he's not a bad coach because he can do it as well. And I think that you have to take that into consideration, that there was a little bit of a game change. Walker's not played in the back three against Leeds. He didn't play it in against C. He played it against us because there was a tactic change. So I think that we should take that as a compliment. It didn't work out for us. We didn't win the game. But I wouldn't compare it with other teams. But I do feel that have we got a little inferior complex? Why should we? We've just gone and beaten Liverpool, Chelsea, and we beat Liverpool in the league. Don't forget before that, which everybody turned around and said, "Oh, they're not at it. They weren't at it." But we beat Liverpool, Man City, and Chelsea within a month of each other in the FA Cup. So I don't think we should have an inferior complex. But what I do believe, and I really do believe this, is that these teams now are thinking to themselves, "Hold on a minute, Arsenal are not easy fuller." You know what I mean? Like there was a time when you think, "Oh well, it's just got to turn up 3-0, 3-0." But now I think teams are starting to think, "Well, we've got to give Arsenal a little bit of respect." We've got to do their own work against us. If they don't do their own work against us, we can take them. So I think that you've got to take that into consideration. I'm trying to be positive anyway.
No, of course. And on that vein, El Batch asked, as we go through the last couple of questions, Raph, El Batch says, do you think there was a little bit of an overreaction to the City game? I do think we could have went for it a bit more, but I don't think we should be so critical on ourselves.
He's like the Iceman, isn't he? He's always froze.
He's always frozen. Raph, are you there? Are you there, Raph? Help me, Raph. We can't. Oh, he's muted. He's muted. That's why I can't. He's gonna have to unmute himself. he's had a Jose Mourinho styled show today.
For the last 5 minutes.
Nah.
Go on, Raph. No, he's gone. He has had an absolute bet. I don't know what he's done there. Lee, do you want to tackle that quickly?
Yeah, I do think there's been a little bit of an overreaction. Look, we're all, listen, I'm going to be honest, you know what I mean? That's what results and what football does. I was having a bloody meltdown. Tottenham 3-0 up today, beating Man United. They give me a meltdown. I think they're going to win the league and things like that. It's an overreaction because that's what football does. It does. You do react to results, and that's what we do. We react to the result. We wanted to win that game, and we felt we had a chance. So, listen, 9 times out of 10, Tom, I'm never disappointed when we lose to Man City. I'm disappointed we've lost, but you accept why you've lost. But we've all disappointed because we all thought we had a chance of winning this game. So yeah, of course, there's going to be a bit of an overreaction, and I think that we have to look at it and say, the only thing I'm critical about is the way that the team's set up. That's the only way that I'm critical. The way we played and whatever, fine margins. If Saka would have scored, we'd have gone in at 1-1. If the penalty had given, we could have even been 2-1 up. You know what I mean? Like Leno's made good saves. Their goalkeepers made good saves. Fine margins. Aubameyang next week might put that chance away. I don't think we should be too critical. I don't think we should be too much about it, and I don't think we should dwell on it neither. Forget about it. It's done now. You know what I mean? Let's concentrate on Leicester and Man United now. They're the 2 games to focus on, and I don't think that we should be too critical about it. But you're going to get that reaction from fans, and I understand that. You know what I mean? I'm one of them. The way we play and. Listen, if Arsenal win 4-0 against Fulham, I think we're going to win the league. You know what I mean? That's the way we are. You know what I mean? But in reality, it's not. You know what I mean? And reality is we've lost 1-0. It's not as bad as what everybody's making it out to be. But, that's fans for you. This that's how I feel.
Yeah, no, that's completely fair. I think that there is Arsenal fans in general. We say this on the show a lot, and I'm speaking from doing the show and interacting with so many of them and seeing so much reaction on social media that we are a very reactionary bunch. We react very raw in a raw nature to so many things. We do. I've been with you at Gamesley. I've seen the literal devil seemingly possess you at Crystal Palace when we're 3-0 down. And
do you remember that? Yeah.
It scared the hell out of me, that game. But genuinely, like, we do just seemingly react so violently sometimes towards results, and I get the frustration. It's been a long time since we've seen Arsenal in their real heyday in the early 2000s, the late 90s, early 90s, etc. And before that, of course. We've waited so long for Arsenal to be once again challenging. It's frustrating to see a lot of our rivals like Chelsea and Manchester United get up there and get further up the league than us and get into the Champions League, and we're now trying to claw our way back into that competition, let alone challenge for the title. But what we need to remember is that we are, unfortunately, on a different plane sometimes, these teams, and you look across it, and I think there is real opportunity to see a change in our future with Partey coming in, for instance, and being a real figure of change in the midfield. And that seeing that our ownership did financially back us for that signing is also another positive sign as well. And it's a real, sometimes you have to, you grit your teeth and bear it to kind of praise those that side of things, but they did do something right in backing the club with the finances to bring in Partey, and hopefully more of that will happen in the future. But we need to allow now this time to take place. And Raph, let's see if we can bring Raph in for one last chance. We'll give him another go. Hopefully he's there. But give us your final thoughts, Raph, before we wrap up, mate.
I don't think you should.
There was a good. I was counting there 10 seconds.
I'm just enjoying the combo at this point.
We can hear you. Just keep going, Raph. Keep going. Plow through, mate. Plow through.
Nah, he's froze again.
He'll go. He'll go in a second. He'll hear me. No, he's gone. It's enough. He has thrown the kitchen sink at his router. Yeah. He's done. Oh, dearie me.
It's a shame because he talks really good sense, and it's really interesting to hear what he's got to say. But
what we'll do is we'll try and if we can get we'll get him a GoFundMe page going. Yeah. If Deluded Guna can get a Mac, surely we can get Raph a new Wi-Fi connection. Surely it can be done. We'll get one going. Thank you so much, people in the chat box, for being so understanding with the Windows 98, as it was so greatly put by Chris earlier on. But Lee, it's been a pleasure to speak to you, mate.
Yeah, no worries. Can I just say something? If anybody's sent me a message over the last week or something that's on the chat or who's listening to it, I just want to say thank you very much. It's been very humbling and been a massive comfort to me. So thanks for everybody that has sent messages and everything like that. It is more than appreciated. You know, obviously I haven't been able to answer everyone, but it has honestly been a massive thank you from me and also my family, because my family have been reading them as well, and it's been a massive comfort. So thank you very much.
Right, the response I saw on social media was
it's unbelievable. Like, you know, just on things like that, it's just been incredible. You know, and people getting in touch via social media from Facebook, from my dad and everything like that. It's been fantastic, and you know, it's been you know, very, very humbling for all my family, and has made all of us feel so much better. So thanks for everybody that has sent messages and that. Appreciate it.
Whilst we are on a bit of a somber note, I just want to send our thoughts as well to Graham, who of course unfortunately suffered a loss in his family. And if you have got a spare couple of seconds to send Graham a nice comforting message, I'm sure that he would appreciate that as well.
Yeah, it does help, honestly, guys. It does help. It really does.
So yeah, please do send some thoughts, and we of course send our best to Graham as well. But thank you, Lee, this evening for talking about a somber match. Of course, we did get to enjoy a couple of Spurs.
Listen, I'm a little more happy than I was at half time. I can tell you that now. Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
It is. I'm glad it was in that order. Like lose first, then watch Spurs capitulate.
Honestly, Tom, I was sitting there. I was, you know, really, really down because you know, with the week that I've had, Arsenal have lost. Spurs are winning 3-0. You can imagine what's going through my head. They're going to go and win the league and everything like that. It went 3-1. I thought, well, 3-1, and then it went 3-2. And I still thought that it worked. I just thought, it's, you know, it's just they're teasing me. And then when that last one where I jumped up like Arsenal won the cup, you know what I mean? So
yeah, absolutely insane. Yeah, fantastic stuff. So yeah, that wraps up today's show. Of course, we will be back tomorrow with another. Likely, I'm going to look into some of the tactical side of things, I think, as well, and break some stuff down to see kind of where we can see some improvements in the game, where some players need to improve themselves, and where we saw some wins in the likes of Bukayo Saka. And then on Wednesday will be the preview show ahead of the Rapid Vienna game. A lot of people are writing that game. People know that I love my Austrian football, watching Red Bull Salzburg here and there, and they're no mugs. I can tell you that, Rapid Wien. So they will be going for it. They're arguably the best team in the group besides ourselves, other than Dundalk and Mulder. So they're not going to be pushovers. We'll go and beat them 8-0 now. But I think yes, 100%. But I think that it will be a little bit more tough than maybe some people are giving it credence for. But no, thank you so much for tuning in, people. Thank you, chat box. Thank you, members, for being absolute legends as always. You help support the channel week in, week out. Appreciating every single one of our expert members, our TGT members, and our Plus members. We've had Chris Smith and Lewis sign up in the recent couple of hours, I suppose, that have just seen pop up as well. So thank you, guys. And of course, thank you to our TGT ambassadors as well, always keeping it going. If you want to sign up and help support the channel and get involved with the Discord server, it's going off that Discord server. It's fantastic to see everyone sort of intertwining and talking to each other about the Arsenal and consoling each other when it needs doing, and it does often as Arsenal fans. But thank you ever so much. We will see you again very soon. Make sure you follow Lee on Twitter. I mean, he doesn't need too many more followers, but you can find him on Twitter at Lee Mark Judges. You can find Raph as well. If I mean, he might be connected to Twitter. He may have lost connection at some point to his social media. I'm sure he'll get a few tweets out at Messi Music or Messi the Artist. So make sure you go and check him out, and you can find us at the Gooner Talk TV. We will see you again very, 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 very soon. And as always, up the Arsenal.
Down you go.